It looked like, based on what we saw out there, you're probably about as healthy a team as you guys have been since the beginning.
Yes, we are. We've got a lot of players back, which is good. We've had a break after the madness of May, and then for whatever reason we play a game and then the lads are off again for 5 days. Such is is it CBA? Is that what gives them 5 days off or something like that? So yeah, we've got 20 outfielders training with us. We've got Nathan Byrne pushing, to get back to training as well. So it's as healthy as we've been, and we've got the 2 lads still in the Gold Cup.
In terms of no new injuries, basically for
no injuries from the Philly game. No.
We did see Nate out there this morning. I know that you said you were trying to meet with a specialist to kind of dictate or ramp up to play. What's a better idea of kind of what?
Yeah, so he's met up with a specialist. So now he's going to crank up his return to training protocol. So he'll do some work with the physios, and then they'll pass him on to the performance coaches, the fitness coaches, and get him to a place where he feels comfortable enough to join in training. It's not going to be a quick process. I would expect him, to be at least another 3 or 4 weeks to join training, just simply because of the nature of the injury. They had to go through the front of his neck to, replace 2 discs. So, but the good thing is he's pain free and he's enjoying his training at the moment.
Would you say maybe Leagues Cup, that time period?
That's the time period I'm hoping for him. Yeah.
In terms of having this extra time, I know the players got some time off, but does it allow you to divorce yourself a bit from a disappointing result while also getting a little extra prep on not only your next opponent, but what is a very ambitious stretch for you guys coming up?
I'll do that in a minute. There we go. So
just working new rules.
Yeah.
It's all good.
No, I mean, the performance wasn't bad at Philly. The result was poor because we conceded in the last minute of both halves. But we deserved more out of the game than we got. I was pleased with the intensity that we played at. We matched their intensity, but disappointed with the goals that we conceded. So, we had to have 5 days off because that's what the CBA does. It gives the players 5 days of rest. We've not really revisited that game, just apart from talking about what we could have done better to prevent certainly their winning goal, which we should have dealt with a lot better.
What do you think about this period of time that gives you an extended look of what Idan Tokomati can bring? Obviously, you want to have Pat back at some point, but what does this allow you to see now from him?
Yeah, it allows us to have a good look at Idan, and we know we've had him long enough now. Though we know what he's about. He's been with us 9 or 10 months. He's come back from the injury. He looks fit. He's not got his hair in braids at the moment, so he's about 4 inches taller as well. So he adds to our physicality and height from set pieces. But no, he's a talented player and one that we know that we'll have to nurse him into games, but we want him to go into games, and not come out and make it very difficult for us once Patrick gets back from international duty.
We got some insight into Wilf's soccer IQ, and I think we saw it play out in the game with the way he scored the goal, because it really showcased him being more central. What does it mean to have somebody who almost maybe acts as an extension of you and the coaching staff in the attacking part of the field?
I just think his understanding of the game and what he's got, where he's been. He's got a natural ability, but I think he's also got, having got to know him now over the last 3 or 4 months, how much he can actually bring to the team as well in terms of his experiences, how he talks to players, what he sees during the game as well. I spoke to him about making sure he ends up in the penalty box at the far post, and I showed him clips of him doing that at Crystal Palace an awful lot, because that's where I saw him scoring a lot of goals. We all know he's got the goals where he can sit a defender down and go the other way and put it in the bottom corner or the top corner, but then bread and butter goals of getting in at a far post, on the opposite, when the ball's on the opposite side, and that's what he did well for that goal at Philly.
Have you given any more thought to what the goalkeeper situation will be?
I have, yeah, lots.
Anything you want to share?
No, listen. I told you that Callie was going to have a breather. He's had a breather. David's coming in, done what we expected of David. So, I've got a decision to make now for Wednesday.
Steve? I was waiting for him to that you're mandated to give players rest is one thing, whether they take it or not, where they are and things, and not wanting to lose the level they're at. I mean, were players here,
I've no idea because I wasn't here.
Okay, so you have mandated rest as well.
Well, I was told that it's mandated by the CBA, so we can't get them in.
Mm-hmm.
So, we might as well give everybody a breather. It's important, just as important for the staff that they get a few days off as well to reset and go and meet the families who they haven't seen for the whole of May. It gave us the opportunity to do that.
But you're going from a stretch where you had games almost every other day to 2 weeks off, and to now another week and such, and just these things. What is that? I mean, it's not like the club was in a great rhythm before, so it's not, that can't take away from it. Do you feel that, from the training that you've had since coming back, that the energy is there, the verve is there?
I think the last 4 games we've put in really good performances, and probably warranted more points than we've actually got in the game. So our rhythm is coming back. As I said, the May period results wise wasn't great for us, but we also had some big injuries and losses. We lost both of our starting fullbacks, which didn't help us. But we've managed to come through that, and now we've got the second half of the season and the Leagues Cup to look forward to, and I feel that we're in a good place fitness wise, but also rhythm wise as well.
Will and I were talking about this before coming in here, about whether just how big an impact losing Nathan was, and whether he was underrated for what he meant to the team.
But it wasn't just Nathan; it was Beard as well at the same time. I think we went top of the East, and we lost both of them players. Losing both of your full-backs at that period was tough for us, because Nick Scardina's come in and done well, but he was making his debut, and he's had to play 6 games on the spin. We bought Jack Eel in from Montreal, and he's come in and he's been used to playing wing back, so all of a sudden he's had to play right back and left back, and we know it's not Tim's favoured position as well, playing at left back, so it's been tough. I mean, we looked in Orlando as well and went with a back 3 as well, where unfortunately we conceded some poor goals, but it was a bit of a mix. Nathan's an important player, obviously, and he's a good player, but it was a bit of a mix of losing both full-backs in for such a long time.
When you look back at some of the errors that have cost goals and points through this period, is it? Is there an answer that can fix these things, or is it just what happened in the moment and things like that? Because or just bad luck, and sometimes where there's been
a little bit of bad luck, but there's also, you look at the other end of the pitch as well. We've missed some big chances as well, which would have put us in the lead in games. I took Callie out of the team after 3 or 4, first goals in games that we felt he could have done better with. But that's individual errors that have been poor. There's not too many games I can honestly say where I look back and go, God, we were poor in that game. The opposition really deserved to beat us. I thought Chicago, we lost our way in the second half, that's for sure. But I thought we were the better team in the first half. Columbus at their place were definitely better than us, and Orlando scored good goals. There's not been too many teams where I've gone, yeah, we deserve to get beat today. But that's the way football goes sometimes.
Have you been watching Patrick and Tim with the national team?
I didn't see the Saudi Arabia game, and I didn't see last night. I saw Patrick's goal last night. Who did I play in the first game? I can't even remember.
Trinidad and Tobago.
I didn't see that either. So no.
Well, that kind of begs off the quick, because I was just wondering, like, when you watch your players on national teams, historically, whether a Grealish or something like that at different time, do you learn things from them playing with national teams that about them that maybe informs how you use them with your club team?
No, not really. You know enough about them. You know, they go with their international teams for 2 weeks at a time spell, and you know, probably only train 4 or 5 of them days. You know, we have them all the time, so I think our knowledge of the player is probably a lot greater than, you know, the international. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries, thank you.
If you don't mind, could you take us a bit into them conversations with Wilf? Particularly, was it always just a case of finding his confidence back, or did you see a player and think, you know what, you can do something here?
Yeah, no, I definitely, I wanted to, when I met him in London in December, I think it was. I had a good chat about him, you know, how it was going. He was on loan at Lyon at the time, from Galatasaray, and you know, he wasn't playing. He hadn't had much football in six months. He'd been peripheral with management changes at Lyon, and he just wanted to get and start playing football again. So first time I'd actually sat down and had a conversation, I liked it. I liked his hunger. I liked his honesty. You know, so I always knew it wasn't going to happen straight away. Probably, you know, his first game he scores, and everybody thinks he's going to score every week, and you know, have 30 goals already. You know, but this league, it's not like that. It's a pretty even league, and you know, such is the salary caps in this league. You know, but it gives us what I call a little bit of sprinkling of stardust that you need at this level.
And just on the way that I've got to come to it, simply because we've spoken to Harry Kane about it, Jude Bellingham, you've got the experience ahead of next year. Could you think of any advice you'd give to the England camp or others, and how you actually deal with this? Because playing it is certainly not a pleasant experience.
Yeah, I mean, the playing in the conditions, you know, there's a lot of players there's English players that have been out and played in this league before, but there's also English players that are playing on the continent. You know, Wilf's come from Turkey, so the heat is no different to him. I think the travel and the heat is different. You know, you travel and you go into different places where the humidity is different. You know, you get off the plane in Florida and all of a sudden your t-shirt's stuck to you. You know, it's that kind of thing. You know, so yeah, they're going. I'm sure Thomas and his team are. You know, I think he's over here at the moment watching games. Yeah, so Thomas and his team will be looking and planning for that. But they've got to be ready for the heat, that's for sure.
I've got to ask you about Jack, really. I mean, an incredible player, someone you know well. What do you make of his situation? Do you sort of feel that he's someone that just needs that game time now to push on?
Yeah, I mean, I read an article actually Thomas wrote and spoke about Jack. He just wants him playing, and if he's playing somewhere, I'm sure he'll get back in the England team. You know, Thomas was saying that he's one player who you know can take the ball in any situation. The bigger the better for Jack. You know, you watch him when they won the Champions League and they're playing Real Madrid away, and he's one who wants to get on the ball. You know, and they need players like that who can go and handle the football. You know, so he just needs to get back playing again.
And just in yourself, really, is this very much a challenge that you're enjoying? I guess when you came about, you probably didn't expect it, but now you're fully in. You signed on to 2027. Yeah,
no, I've really enjoyed it. This is a really good club with good people. You know, I've been watching. I haven't actually been watching the Club World Cup, but I've seen that it doesn't look like it's been, you know, great attendances at the game. There's 70,000 there yesterday at the Bank of America, and it just shows you the city that we've got. It's a football city. People want to come and watch it, and you know, hopefully they'll all be there June the 5th, which is a long time since our last home game, but you know, we're looking forward to getting the fans back for that.
You still try and keep up with the Premier League, or is it just?
Yeah, no, I speak to a lot of the lads. I've just been home for a few days to see my mum, and it was my wife's birthday, and bumped into a few and spoke to a few. I actually spoke to Jack and John McGinn, so I spoke to a couple of them.
That's all. Cheers.
Cheers, thank you.
Carol, then we'll go to Charlie.
Are you going to understand me in my American accent now, or are you back into England?
Oh, no, I've still got your accent.
Okay. I wanted to ask about Kalina. I know we haven't asked till now, but I'm going to ask it now. There was a ball he got hit in the face against Columbus And since that moment, the numbers haven't been good. Is that coincidence, or does something happen in that play?
I would like to think it's coincidence. He's been checked over. There was nothing amiss for him to continue in that game. And he's not had any signs of anything that medical staff have picked up on. So I would say that is coincidence. And unfortunately, he's made a couple of mistakes that have come at the same time, pretty much. But he's I took him out of the firing line for a couple of games, just to calm himself down and give him some clarity and train well, and that's what he's done, to be fair to him.
Okay. Do you see it as a battle at that position now, or just you trying to make a decision on what happens next?
Yeah, no, I've pretty much made my decision in my head, but then I'll advise the two goalkeepers tomorrow.
Okay. Nathan Byrne's surgery, was it arthroscopic? Could they make that kind of or did he have to be cut?
He had to be cut there to go in. I think I said I've had a couple of shaving cuts that have been bigger, but they went through his neck, and I think he had 2 new discs put in place.
Wow. Okay.
It's actually stretched him a little bit. I think he's an inch at least taller now.
Hey, how about that? Maybe I'll score now. So also on Ajuman, it seems like there's a lot of scuttlebutt and reports now that the interest in him is just going to grow. Are you prepared to be without him? Or are you looking to keep him?
Well, we're not in a position as a club where we need to sell anybody, especially if it's going to weaken our team. But saying that, every player will have a value as well. We spoke to Patrick and his representatives to try and get him to sign a deal, a longer deal with his club on better wages, but they turned that down, and we'll see where we go with it. But as I've always said, he's our player for another 18 months, and unless there's a deal that's right for this football club, then Patrick is our player, and we enjoy having him here.
Is there any decision on Pep Biel in that regard as well?
No, I think there's ongoing discussions on that. So Pep's again another player who we enjoy having about. His numbers are really good this season. He likes being here. He wants to be here. So I think there's discussions being had now to try and get that tied up.
Okay, no easy questions today, Dean.
They're all easy, Carol. Yeah, all you have to do, I just have to be honest with you.
There you go. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Hey, Coach, this is Charlie Bowman with MLSsoccer.com. I too have questions about Big Pat. He's the only player to play to appear in all 9 of the U.S. national team's matches this calendar year, which is rather rare, and it suggests that that Pochettino has a lot of faith in him and likes the player, even though he's had some growing pains at international level. I just wonder if you had conversations with Pochettino and how you would kind of look at the big picture of his international education, we could say.
Yeah, no, I've not had a chat with Poch. He's one of his assistants came in though to watch training about a month ago, and had a good chat with him about the development of Pat and what we've been working on with him. And he's keeping his place in the team, which is good for him. He's scoring goals, which is good for us and him. So I'm happy to see my players do well when they go and play international football. I don't agree that international football should be played while our season is ongoing, but that's another argument.
When you first arrived, I think I remember you speaking about the education on the finer things of the number 9 position with Pat, and wonder how you've seen that progress continue over your tenure. Is sort of a late bloomer, right? It seems like he's still maybe picking up those small details.
Yeah, he is. He's getting better. He's still got lots to learn as well. The timing of his runs can be better at times. I mean, I saw the chances he had last night. The goalkeeper made a good save. I think he was slightly offside. He just went a little bit too early. And he's a difficult player to play against. He doesn't get an awful lot of protection in the MLS. It seems he's having a lot more fouls called against him playing international football. So, he's one that's going to keep learning. He's not played a lot of football, even though he's 24 years old, coming through the college system. So, he's having to, become a bit of a sponge over the last 18 months to learn as much as he can.
Just one follow-up. You mentioned the contract talks. Is there a chance of that changing? When does break off?
I think that the contract talks were going all during pre-season, as far as my recollection. But you'll know as well as me, you'll probably understand the salary cap more than me, that it comes to a time when they have to stop talking, and I think that's what happened. But we'd still be open to renegotiating, but his representatives certainly put a stop to that.
Thanks so much for your time. It's always a pleasure.
Cheers, thank you.
We'll wrap up with Willie.
You mentioned a lot of the guys were coming back in the team. You got Forbes, you got Cambridge. I know you said Pekovic is still getting back. How would you rate the degree of those guys being ready to contribute? Any of those three guys, or do you feel like there's still some time?
Yeah, no, there's still time. I mean, Pekovic has been coming in. He chose to come in for some of the days to train with the Legacy. Cambridge and Forbes still need minutes. They haven't played an awful lot of match minutes, so we're going to have to get them some minutes in some more Legacy games for them to be ready to play for us.
And I know that we saw Ninfa play for the first time as well with Legacy. I know that he probably will take his development from a graduated standpoint, but what does it mean to see him back?
Great to see him back, because it was a blow to him to, I think it was a metatarsal he had to have sorted, and he's coming back now and working hard, and he'll start enjoying his football again.